need immediate relief. We must tell these businesses who are being forced to lay off, in some cases, their entire staff, or possibly even shut down through no fault of their own, that we will not allow them to go out of business. The federal government will work with affected businesses to provide direct payroll costs for small and medium-sized businesses to keep workers employed until this crisis has passed. In other words, bottom line here, most important point is workers need to continue to get a paycheck even when their businesses are shut down. Further, we need to provide a direct emergency $2,000 cash payment to every household in America every month for the duration of the crisis to provide them with the assistance they need to pay their bills and take care of their families. Now, we're throwing out a lot of ideas. And when you deal with the United States Congress, you don't get everything that you want. There will be a picking and choosing here and there. But I think it's important for us tonight to discuss the various options that they have. And one of those options is to make sure that people at least get a $2,000 a month check to take care of their basic needs. And importantly, we must make certain that the government is getting this money into the hands of working families and the most vulnerable as quickly as possible. In other words, we don't want some kind of bureaucratic arrangement where we're talking about this for weeks and months and people do not get the help that they need. We must provide emergency unemployment assistance to anyone who loses their job through no fault of their own. Under the proposal that I am working on, everyone who loses a job must qualify for unemployment compensation at 100% of their prior salary with a cap of $75,000 a year. In addition, those who depend on tips, waiters and waitresses and others, gig workers, domestic workers, freelancers, and independent contractors must also qualify for unemployment insurance to make up for the income that they lose during this crisis. And I think, as many of you know, unemployment compensation does not cover every worker in America. There are millions of people exempt from unemployment. We have got to deal with that right now. It doesn't matter what work you're doing. If you lose your job, you need unemployment. Further, we need to make certain that seniors, people with disabilities, and families with children have access to decent quality food. That means expanding the Meals on Wheels program, the school meals program, and food stamps so that no one goes hungry during this crisis and everyone who cannot leave their home can receive nutritious meals delivered directly to where they live. In other words, that's as basic as you can get. In America during this crisis, people must not go hungry. We must place an immediate moratorium on evictions, on foreclosures, and utility shutoffs, and suspend payment on mortgage loans for primary residences and utility bills. In other words, it would be unacceptable that people could lose their homes, lose their apartments, see electricity or gas shutoffs during this crisis. So there must be a moratorium on all of those in those areas. Furthermore, we must restore utility services to any customers who have had the utilities shut off. Unbelievably, in America right now, you got a whole lot of folks who literally do not have running water in their homes because they haven't been able to pay their water bill. They may not have electricity, and that has got to be dealt with right now. We must also provide funding for states and localities to provide rental assistance for the duration of this crisis. In addition, we need to waive all student loan payments for the duration of the emergency. Long term, as I think all of you know, it is my view that we must cancel all student debt and make public colleges and universities and trade schools tuition free. And that is the view that I have held for a long time. But right now, at the very least, we must make sure that nobody is obliged to pay their student loan right now. Furthermore, we must ensure that the homeless survivors of domestic violence, and college students quarantined off campus are able to receive the shelter, the health care, and the nutrition they need, and connect those individuals with social services to ensure nobody is left behind. We must also utilize empty hotel beds and other vacant properties to ensure that everyone in this country is safely housed during this crisis. We cannot forget that right now, tonight, there are some 500,000 people who are homeless, some in emergency shelters, some who are sleeping out on the street. Our job is to make sure that everyone is safely housed during this crisis. Further, we must protect farmers by suspending all Farm Service Agency loan payments to protect farmers during this crisis, extend crop insurance and emergency loans to all affected farmers, extend rural development loans, and expand the emergency food assistance program to help alleviate hunger throughout the country and support our farmers during this crisis. We already have a major crisis in terms of family-based agriculture in America. Thousands and thousands of family farmers are losing their farms. We've got to stop that process right now during this emergency. Finally, we must make sure that our response to this health and economic crisis is not another money-making opportunity for corporate America and for Wall Street. Let me underline that. We must make certain that this health and economic crisis is not another money-making opportunity for corporate America and for Wall Street. We need to establish an oversight agency to ensure that no one is profiting off of the economic pain and suffering of our people in the midst of this crisis. Any emergency credit extensions or loans to insolvent companies or industries as a result of this crisis must come with strict protections and benefits for workers, for unions, and for customers, not no strings attached handouts for large corporations and their executives. During this crisis, we will ban stock buybacks and bonuses for executives. We will put conditions on this financial assistance to make certain that any corporation in America that benefits from emergency aid does not lay off workers, pays workers a livable wage, and does not rip off consumers. We must make sure that companies that get bailouts are required to sell fortune by charging an outrageous price for the medicine that people need in order to stay alive. Further, all prescription drugs that are developed with taxpayer dollars must be sold at a reasonable price. The pharmaceutical industry must be told in no uncertain terms that the medicines that they manufacture for this crisis will be sold at cost. This is not the time for profiteering or price gouging. So, we've covered a lot of territory tonight, and this is what I would very much appreciate, where I'd appreciate getting your help. Once again, this BernieSanders.com. And in addition to that, we need to know what you are experiencing right now. It's hard to write proper legislation if we are not familiar with the kinds of pain and problems that people all across this country are facing. So let me just conclude by once again thanking all of you for being with us tonight to understand that what this country is experiencing right now is something that we have never experienced in the modern history of this country. That is, number one, a major pandemic which threatens the health and lives of millions of our people. and on top of that, an economic crisis which threatens the jobs and the income of many, many, many millions of people. So we got some major crises, but I have the strong belief that if we work together, if we do not turn to fear and panic, but if we understand that the way we solve this is by going forward as one people, remembering those who are hurting tonight and will be hurting in the future. This is the richest country in the history of the world. This is a country with unbelievable energy, with unbelievable talent, with incredible resources. We can do it. We can address this crisis. We can minimize the pain, and let us do just that. So let us go forward together, and I look forward to continuing to communicate with you, to tell you where we are coming from, what our ideas are, and look forward to hearing from you as to what your ideas are and what your situation is. So once again, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Good night.